I'd like to call the August 8th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission to order. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dallo?
Here.
Ms. DeSico? Here. Ms. Casali? Here. Mr. Bernardi, absent. Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Rapone?
Here.
Chairman Moffett, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First item is approval of the agenda. If there are no additions or subtractions.
So move.
Moved by
Support.
Turner, support by DeSico. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next is approval of the minutes from the July 25th meeting.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Dallo, support by Turner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this evening we have three rezoning, three public hearings, two rezoning, and a special land use request. The first is a rezoning petition number 07-16, Fadi Saman. Madam Secretary, would you read the notices published?
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of the following amendment to the zoning map. Applicant Fadi Seaman, MRFR LLC, 1400 Axtell Drive, Unit A, Troy, Michigan 48084. Rezoning request from R1B, one family residential, to R8, multifamily low-rise. Location, vacant land located on the east side of Ryan Road, north of West Utica Road. Sidwell number 23-07-32-301-001. Legal description is as follows. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 8th, 2016, at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, 586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the rezoning application. The application for rezoning, zoning ordinance text, and zoning map may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published July 24th, 2016 in the source. There were 46 property owners, 9 utilities, and 2 applicants were notified by first-class mail on July 22nd, 2016.
Okay, thank you. Let the record reflect that the commission was joined by member Bernardi. Okay, Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. All right, the format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or representative will give a presentation stating what they're requesting and the reasons for it. The commissioners will then ask questions or may ask questions. I'll then open it up to the public to offer their comments or ask any questions, and then allow the petitioner to come back to answer any questions or any issues that were raised. At this time, is the petitioner...
We received one correspondence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before I have you address it, there was one item of correspondence that was received. Madam Secretary, would you summarize it, please?
Yes, this was from a Richard Baden, and basically he is not wanting this development, and he is approximately 500 feet from this property that he lives in, Glen Arbor subdivision, and he's against the rezoning.
Okay, thank you. If I get your name and address, please.
Yes, good evening. Phil Ruggieri, 43231 Shaner, Sterling Heights, 48313. Good evening, everyone. I'm here on behalf of the petitioners. I have Fadi and Ramsey Siman. They're business enterprise individuals over in the city of Troy. They've invested in our city, and they've asked me to help them with this parcel of land, which is a very, very difficult piece to work from. As you can see on the board to my left, the property is north of West Utica Road, and it's on the east side of Ryan Road. It's a 10-acre parcel. It's the parcel that I've got designated with the orange striping. As you can see surrounding the property, there's a lot of designations for high-level density, We have R8 directly to the east and the south of the property. You have R7, across the street you have R12, and you have HRM at the corner. To the north further is the R1B, which this classification falls in. As such, and which stands for the single-family development. The parcel has been delineated through experts that we hired to determine whether or not there's any wetland issue, because there were some questions about this property being able to be developed. But we did a complete study.
Hey, if you're gonna talk it, why don't you do that? Like, it might cost you extra. You need to press and hold until light comes on. Here. There you go.
Got it?
Yep.
Thanks.
Try
Hello?
again. There you go.
Here we go.
Let's see, and I'll use mine. Whoops. What I've done is I've taken a larger version of the area. This is an actual survey, and the yellow area is designated as the upland area, and the remaining white parcel, the remaining parcel is the wetland area. You've got almost 70% of the property as wetlands. So all we have to deal with, or are allowed to deal with, is this portion that's designated with the yellow stripes. Now, if you look at the zoning classification, all we're asking for is to take that R8 designation and just square it off so that this whole parcel will be R8. The impact on the only abutting residential R1B is very limited, because obviously being wetlands, we cannot just build upon that. We have to build on the upland portion. So very little of this property is actually abutting, the property that would be proposed as developed would be abutting the R1B. We would have to secure permits to allow a road to connect into this back area. So we've got our work cut out for us. But tonight, what we're asking for is that we're allowed the R8 zoning, which gives us the ability to go forward. A piece like this is nearly devastating to try to develop. There's a lot of hurdles, and we want to make it a viable development. My clients invested a lot of money into it. They weren't very knowledgeable about real estate. They hired myself and some other experts to help take this property and resurrect it, but they want to be strong investors here in Shelby Township, and they're willing to invest a good deal of money to make this a productive piece of land, and also to be a very good taxable base for our township. Right now, that property has been sitting for a long time vacant. It's never been developed. And in the past, a lot of the properties here had a lot of the wetland designations on them, but people had gone ahead and filled before the wetland restrictions were really effective. You're probably predating some of the wetland laws that came into effect. But needless to say, a lot of the properties that have been developed up and down the stretch had wetlands, and they still got developed. But now we've got a different hurdle. We found from our two experts that did a delineation that there is that significant amount of wetlands, and I caution my clients not to proceed one step until we had clarification of what the wetlands were, and once we get, and we had to proceed with zoning before we go anything further. But you do not want to touch that wetlands or even tamper with it until such time as you want to secure a permit. So obviously under R8 zoning, we're looking at getting an opportunity to develop the property just as we have to the east, which is the R8. It's apartments, and you have the R12, which is even a more significant multiple zoning. So that's what we're here to achieve. And if you have any questions, I'll answer those for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Ruggieri, now how would you propose accessing that site? Would you connect to the existing the existing apartments, or would you have to come off Orion?
No, you can't go through the existing apartment complex. That's independent of this site. And that would pose some undue restrictions on them. You can't come in from that direction. You're either going to have to secure a permit to go through the wetlands to give a road either on this side, in the middle, or on that side. It's going to be a very limited road, and it's going to be one of three places. And I would suggest you'd have to rule this out because there's an existing easement that comes across this property. That's probably not the wisest. It's either in the middle or that side. And you don't want to disturb the wetlands any more than you have. So it most likely would be along this northern border. It would be a road, and whatever was removed from the wetlands, we would replace with rows of trees and other vegetation and plantings to continue buffering it just as it is now.
I mean, how much can you develop? It looks like it's maybe 4 acres that you could develop.
It's less than 4 acres.
Less than, I mean, how many buildings could you add in R8?
You can do between 3 and 4 buildings, and you could, make them apartments. You can't go any higher than 40 feet, 3-story. So we've had a design team put together an excellent product that we think we could fit on here. We've reserved going much further because of the cost involved, but we have already determined that you can fit in nicely 4 buildings, utilizing all the natural features of the wetland area for the overview of the apartments. They can look out. There's probably some wildlife in here, and the vegetation looks very nice. So they would secure that, remain undisturbed, and the back would have the type balconies that would overlook. So there's been a well-thought-out plan, but obviously you have to overcome this hurdle first. And you can see that we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what to do with this property, and you cannot do a conventional sub. It's out of the question. And this fits nicely in your master land use plan. I've gone over that pretty extensively through the planning department, and the surrounding zoning already fits this particular type of use. As you can see, I mean, we're surrounded by R8 ourselves, right here. The only thing that's left is that sliver, which is ours. By squaring that off, now you have all the multiple zoning that you need in that particular area, and then you preserve the R1B that's already to the other side. And being that this is significant wetlands, you've got significant buffers that are built in already, besides what we would add to the site. So it's a very, very difficult property. It would be a classic use variance type property because it's a practical difficulty and a nearly impossibility to develop the property. But we think that under this procedure, we would lay it out, and whatever product we'd have to submit to the Planning Commission. They would have to review it and make sure that this is something that would be feasible and that would not impinge or hamper the adjoining property owners.
Okay. Which is a good point. I think a lot of these issues are site plan issues. It'd be real. To the board, any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Request. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Ruggieri, as you mentioned, you are surrounded by multiple in this part of the township, and I believe, in my opinion, the area is really overbuilt with apartments, not just here along Ryan, but all along West Utica, going all the way out to West Utica Elementary. When you mentioned upscale apartments in the notation to us, what exactly does that mean?
Well, they're not going to be run-of-the-mill matchboxes put together just trying to get people in there and cram them in. We're looking at a well-thought-out design to be highly attractive, have good curbside appeal, something that this community would allow. I've been in Shelby Township 30 years, and I've already told my clients I would not represent anybody that would bring garbage to our township. So the plans that I've been looking at, and we've also retained a local architect here from Shelby Township. He's got wonderful plans that would fit in nicely. And I've gone through your master land use plan. We have insufficient multiple housing in here to accommodate the requirements that our township needs. You might see some in this area, but overall, we don't have enough options in the township. I've gone through the master plan use. We spent time with planning, and this would be a nice fit.
I agree it does have some challenges in development, but I'm just a little concerned. I'm sure some residents will raise their concerns with adding more multiple to an area. Even though township-wide there may not be enough diverse housing, this area is saturated with multiple. So I'm just very concerned that we're going to be adding more and putting more strain on that part.
Well, I developed a piece right across the street on West Utica and Ryan, nice condos over there.
Right.
We did a beautiful job. It has not had any problems with the traffic, and we sold out immediately,
And that's zoned
multiple.
R8? Or
Not
less?
R8, I don't recall the exact designation, but it was,
That was done as a consent judgment, but it's effectively a multiple zoning classification. And what's interesting about that site, that has some similarities because about half that site is wetland too, to the north, so that limited their development potential.
and in the consent judgment, we granted a preservation agreement for the township forever on that property, which was, I think, about 70% of the property. So, you know, we actually had to go the different route of consent judgment, but we were able to achieve it.
Since you mentioned the Eagle Creek, what is going, that corner property, that corner parcel at Ryan and West Utica is for sale? I noticed the sign is up there.
I don't know, I didn't see it.
I'm just concerned we're going to end up getting more multiple on that side to compensate what you try to balance it out what's on the other side. I just have some very worrisome concerns about this, that's all. Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, well, the good thing about it is that the development is going to be way to the east. It's not going to be right along the roadside, so you're significantly back, and you're pushed right up to that R8. So you're talking about the first 7 acres of this property is going to be undeveloped, except for just a road access, that's it. So you've got some pretty good buffering, and even for the residents across the street, they're not going to be impacted because you're basically having multiple that's already there, just expanding that upper strip, which is only 3 acres, and 7 will remain wetlands.
So you're planning on keeping the front portion a natural-looking buffer?
Yes, we can't touch that. The only thing we're going to be able to achieve is a road.
So you won't even see this coming up Ryan Road then, pretty much?
No, you won't. You have 7 acres of extensive wetlands there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else?
I do have a question.
Commissioner
for
Moore.
Mr.
Sure.
Ruggieri. So these will be apartments and not condominiums, correct?
No, there's not enough area to put true condominiums. You've got to have more than 2 stories, 2 to 3 stories in order to achieve the right density, to even consider developing this property.
And then, do you have any idea what rents would range, or is that something that hasn't even
We're
been discussed?
probably in that, the minimum probably about $950 up to $1,300 a month, that type of range.
And will these apartments that you're proposing, will these have garages, or what are we looking at so we can visualize?
You're getting into a lot of concept plans. We're not quite sure. But I would say that you're not going to be able to put garages there. There's just no way. You'll have maybe carports and parking spaces along the perimeter of the development.
I too share the concern that Mr. Turner had brought up.
Sure.
As far as being saturated in that area, that it's pretty dense. As far as the road, the access road,
Yes.
as far as putting it in the middle versus abutting the subdivision that's currently there to the north, I would totally be opposed to that.
Well, the
As far as-
subdivision doesn't abut the north. There's a
Well, there's a
single-family
single, right.
home in between, yeah.
But as far as the option of putting it in the middle versus to the north,
I certainly would like it to be in the middle, but I don't think it's going to be our call. It's going to be
Right.
the DEQ or
Yeah.
Mr. Wynn.
MDEQ.
I think there's if I may just interject something, I think there's a reason we don't require a concept plan submitted with a rezoning application. We're not dealing with site plan issues yet. We're dealing with more broad abstract questions of, do we want to introduce this zoning classification on this area? Questions of screening and setbacks and access will all be, and what the buildings look like will all be dealt with when we get to that stage. I would tell you this, though, that our standards in the ordinance are much higher than they were 30 years ago. So the development's going to look a lot different, a lot better than maybe ones did that were built in the 70s. You know, I can talk a little bit about setbacks and screening, but there are multiple standards in the ordinance that deal with aesthetics on buildings and aesthetics on the site that weren't there when some of the surrounding development was built. So we need to stray a little bit away from site planning issues.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions? Okay, thank you. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. The Township Board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on the rezoning. At this time, anyone is welcome to come up and offer an opinion, ask a question, offer a comment. I would just need your name and address, and then after, if you could sign in too, please.
Hello, Jonathan Highland. So I live at 46100 Ryan Road. I'm the parcel right next to where they posed the road in. The biggest concern I have is with the R8 designation is the traffic. The traffic is already fairly intense between 4 and 6, and putting that much population, most likely adding about 80 new cars coming and going at the exact same time, we're going to probably be backed up about a mile. I mean, so no matter which way you cut it, unless we do something about that, it's going to be a serious impact to the area. The other thing is, like you said, there is a lot of apartments already here. And the area recently has been moving in some pretty nice big homes. I mean, they've been improving the area. There's some beautiful homes that are being built. I'd like to see that trend continue. I mean, it's, I think it's better for the city all around. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ma'am.
My name is Linda Kleino, and I live at 46101 Ryan Road, across from the Highlands. My main concern is if there's only one roadway into the property, is that safe for like fire or whatever? Wouldn't you need at least two to divert the traffic, or even fire trucks? Anything, any disaster. That's the only concern I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Nguyen.
I can answer that. If and when they submit a site plan, the fire department reviews all plans. If they exceed a certain number of units, then they would have to have a second way in and out. So they might have to do some sort of loop system. They may have to cut through that wetland twice. But that's a valid concern, and the fire department, just so you know, when site plans do come in, all the departments look at them, and fire department's one of them. So.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Mr. Nguyen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly concur with the applicant's presentation in terms of where it's located. Its consistency with the master plan and the abutting multiple family zoning boundaries certainly influence this property. In our view, it's more or less an extension of that zoning classification and provides some continuity. I remember in the past we had some people come and look at this for single family to do something similar to the Glen Arbor, the small lots, and it just didn't work, and I think it might have been because of the wetlands. And I don't think you're going to get a standard 90-foot lot single family backing up to the existing apartment. So I think there is some logic, some compelling logic to this. There are screening requirements and setback requirements that come into play that are more stringent than they used to be. As one example, the perimeter setback on all the boundaries is 50 feet. And then where the one gentleman shares a common property line, there's an added, as part of that 50 feet, there's a screening requirement for either a green belt or a berm or a wall or some combination of those factors. So we're really, that's something that the commission takes very careful consideration of what that impact is when we get to the site plan area. But in terms of the rezoning, we think there's substantial reason and to support this, and we do head offer a recommendation for favorable consideration.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to, Mr. Ruggieri, if you come up for concluding remarks. One question that wasn't answered was the impact on traffic. If you wish to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I live in Shelby Township. It's over 30 years, and almost every intersection is going to have traffic. But with the apartments, you're going to lure a lot of the seniors in this particular development that want to get out of their homes and rather rent. So, and those individuals do not work. So you're going to have a great deal of those people that live there not really interfacing with the traffic in the morning or the late evening.
You're proposing age-restricted,
No, not, but I just know from the makeup of the, of apartments in general, and I've been involved in investing in apartments, I just know what to anticipate. Yeah, I don't see it being any different. It would, any different than if you were able to do any conventional sub, which I know you can't, but anything you put in there would have some impact, but I don't think this is going to be anything major.
okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, our decision on this request must be based on the following: the practicality of the rezoning request and the effect on the surrounding area, the owner's right to use his land, do current growth and development patterns warrant this rezoning, and is the proposed rezoning in accordance with the master plan? We may recommend approval, disapprove, or table the information to evaluate further. At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval to the Township Board of Rezoning Petition 07-16 for parcel number 23-07-32-301-001 to be rezoned from R1B Single Family Residential to R8 Multiple Family Low Rise for the following reasons. The rezoning to a multiple family low-rise district is consistent with the 2009 Shelby Township Master Plan. This rezoning will create continuity for multiple family housing in this portion of the township, and the rezoning will provide new housing opportunities that accommodate needs of residents of all stages of life.
Support.
Is that support by Dallo? Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Commissioner DeSico?
Yes.
Commissioner Dallo?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi?
No.
Commissioner Moore?
No.
Commissioner Turner?
No.
Commissioner Pone?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion carries. Okay, next item is rezoning petition number 08-16, Larry Guerin. This too is a public hearing, so I'll ask the secretary to read the notices published.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of the following amendment to the zoning map. Applicant Larry Guerin, Franklin Real Estate Partner, LLC, 25650 Meadowdale Street, Franklin, Michigan, 48025. Rezoning request from R1B, one family residential, to R12 multifamily low-rise, and O1 professional office to R12 multifamily low-rise. Location, 5657 25 Mile Road, 5711 25 Mile Road, 5859 25 Mile Road. Vacant land across, located at the northwest corner of 25 Mile Road and Mound Road. Sidwell number 23-07-05-478-006, 23-07-05-478-007, and 23-07-05-478-010. Legal description is as follows. Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 8th, 2016, at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, 586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the rezoning application. The application for rezoning, zoning ordinance text, and zoning map may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the Municipal Building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published July 24th, 2016 in The Source. There were 127 property owners, 9 utilities, and 2 applicants were notified by first-class mail on July 22nd, 2016.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk, did publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Moore, did we receive any correspondence on this request?
Yes, we did, Mr. Chair. From a Kate Taskey, and she is not in favor of rezoning this property whatsoever. She lives in Prescott Woods, and she's opposed to it.
Okay, thank you. The format for this public hearing will be exactly the same as the prior. The petitioner representative will state their reasons for the request. The commissioners may then ask questions. I'll allow anyone from the public to come up, offer their opinion, or ask any questions, and then I'll let the petitioner answer the questions. I see the petitioner's representative is here. If I could get your name and address, please.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, my name is Larry Guerin, and I represent Franklin Real Estate Partners. And we're here tonight, I think, with a little bit less complicated issue than was just in front of you, but we do have a rezoning request to take a piece that is split zoned. It's 3 contiguous parcels with the majority, 64% of it, currently zoned R12, and we have 2 small pieces which have some mostly O1 zoning and a small amount of R1B zoning. So what we're trying to do is consolidate the entire site to R12 to make it developable. There's also a drain and a potential wetlands on this site in the north.
If you're gonna talk and travel, you need to take the mic.
In the north corner. And our goal is to, on site 230705478006, which is 2 acres and zoned R1B, it's the furthest west site, consolidate that to R12, and that's 2 acres. On the site that is 230705478007, which is 7.09 acres, of that site, 6.09 acres is zoned R12, and 1 acre is zoned O1. And we'd like that to be rezoned to R12. And then on site 230705478010, that's a 1.34 acre parcel, of which 0.08 acres is zoned O1, and we'd like that zoned R12. This is on the northwest corner of Mountain 25 Mile Road. It has 2 thoroughfares that impact in terms of the requirement, the separation requirement before you can place any type of setback requirements to place any buildings. The wetland has an impact, and we're trying to make this site, which has been on the market for 6 or 7 years, developable. We believe under the R12 zoning, we'll be able to do that. We don't think we'll be able to get the density that the R12 zoning allows because of the impacts, but at least will give us an opportunity to do some type of housing on the site. This is consistent with your master plan, and we would ask that you grant this rezoning request so that we can consolidate this parcel to R12 and have an opportunity to develop it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone at the board have any questions?
Mr.
Turner?
Mr. Guerin, you claim you cannot develop this as zoned R12 and O1, yet across the street we have a split zone also, which is a commercial with a residential multiple behind it. So we're talking, looked almost like a mirror image here, and I'm wondering why they could develop that and you cannot develop yours.
Take the mic if you're going to travel.
Turner, anything can be developed. You know, it's a question of the viability of the development and the ability to fundamentally make it work. We're buying this property from the existing landowner, and they had a price that they were prepared to sell the property for. We are buying it based on that criteria, and we do have an impact, a reasonably significant impact here. These are 2 thoroughfares which require, I believe, 180 foot from the center line of the road setbacks. And as we've tried to lay out some different products, we couldn't get a density that could make the project financially feasible. I also think that it is consistent with the master plan. It's a nice corner in your community, and it's been left undeveloped and fallow for many years, I think it can be a productive, tax-producing asset to the community and a nice place for people to live.
So basically what you're saying is it can be developed, but the drain that you have running across the north of that makes it less likely to be
Well,
developed?
I think it's the drain, and again, you have an O1 piece of property right here, which impacts your ability to develop. You have setbacks from that O1. It could be developed if it was totally rezoned to R12. If the underlying zoning, the R1B here and the O1 stays in place, sure, anything can be developed, but I don't see how it could be financially feasible for anybody to do it unless the owners did it themselves. And I don't know what their basis is in the property.
So I know we have this need to have a diverse housing, and we want creative housing, and what it looks like to me is you're taking an O1 and R12, and you're expanding it further west, and you want to make it now R12, which is not very creative. You're talking about apartments.
Well, no, I didn't say, I've never said that.
Okay, what would you plan on putting in R12?
We're not 100% sure yet, but we're talking about some type of for-sale living. I can't guarantee that, but that's what our plan is. We've been looking at some townhouse plans. We've been looking at some duplex plans. We've even had interest from some senior housing people. So there's a variety of potentials here. I would say the last thing that we would do is just R12 multifamily for rent. That is not right now on our horizon at all.
That just seems like what we're getting a lot of in these infill parcels is this R12.
Right. Well, I think the zoning is appropriate because 64% of this site is already zoned that way, and I think you can still have diversity of housing under an R12 zoning. It doesn't mean that it has to be built to the capacity, and there's enough restrictions on this site to I think give you some diversity of housing as opposed to just an R12 apartment complex.
But once it's zoned R12.
I agree with you there.
Mr. Nguyen, how would this rezoning affect the hamlet designation at this corner where it talks about mixed-use sort of development?
I think you have to look at the hamlet concept, which is kind of a obtuse concept to begin with that was introduced to the plan, that it almost looks like this. If you look at this whole intersection, it has that characteristic. You have some office, you have some retail, you have some multiple family. It kind of functions that way more at the intersection as a whole versus this parcel. This parcel, I guess what I like about this a little more is it's consolidated. We don't have pieces. And I don't know how that O1 got placed there to begin with, because it crosses two different property lines. It's almost undevelopable as O1 unless you cleaned up that. I mean, you could develop office at the corner. We do it all the time. But not under this zoning configuration because it crosses two different parcels. It makes no sense the way it's kind of placed there without any relevance to the property lines. That's the problem. I mean, you're correct in saying we're extending the R12, Mr. Turner, by adding that other 2-acre parcel. That's entirely relevant, and that's true. It's extending a little more. But with those, if you look to the west, you have all those 2-acre parcels that are maybe 100, 150 feet wide and 400 or 600 feet deep. The only way those are going to get developed is if you come in with some consolidated, start assembling that. So I'd rather see some assembly of property.
As long as we don't assemble it and expand the R12 or R8 further west, that's the concern. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else have any other comments? Okay, thank you.
Sure, can I make one other comment?
Sure.
If that expanded area, Mr. Guerin, how wide is that parcel on Van Dyke on 25 Mile Road to the west, the westerlymost parcel, that one?
132 feet wide by...
Okay. 50 feet of that will be setback.
Okay, thank you. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this special land use request. I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body, and the Township Board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on the rezoning. At this time, anyone from the audience is welcome to come up and offer their opinion or ask any questions on what's being requested. And I just need your name and address, and then when you're done, if you could sign in, please.
Okay. My name's Larry Coolin. I live at 5758 25 Mile Road. I'm at the southwest corner of 25 and Mound, and I'm right next to the dentist office. My biggest concern is there a compelling need to add more residential and to this piece for redevelopment? Could you just switch the O1 to, to that designation and leave the residentials as they are? Seems like we have along 25 Mile Road, along Shelby, along Van Dyke, north of 25. I mean, there's plenty of multifamily. I'm not sure that we need to take more residential out and add it to the R12.
The only residential is the R1B, that 132-foot lot.
Right. So, I mean, is there a need for that? I mean, why do you need to add that to it? So, I mean, I don't understand that part. My biggest personal concern is it's already difficult to turn in and out of my own driveway. It can be challenging. So where would the proposed entrance be for this property? That would be a big concern for myself, and I know a couple of my other neighbors.
Again, that's those kind of issues we have to deal with site plan, so.
And it should be part of it, I would think. I mean, is at least a consideration at this point. If you have a master plan and you've already designated as O1 at the corner, not that I have any, big love of O1, as Mr. Wynn knows. The dentist office next to me has been a horrible neighbor, so I'm not opposed to not having another O1 next to us. I'm sure that you guys will take care of all the setback requirements and all that, but at this point, unless I know where, the entrances are going to be, I definitely could not support any changes to this property. If the board does approve this, I mean, they could put up more apartments there. And to me, I think Shelby has quite a few apartments as it is. I don't believe that we have a massive shortage. So I'm hoping that it ends up being some type of, condominium or site condo or whatever, what is allowed under R12, what they're requesting.
Mr. Winnie.
It would allow attached housing,
So the duplexes that they talked about would.
It's many forms of multiple family. We don't regulate whether it's ownership or rental.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm John James from 5680 25 Mile Road, just across the street from the proposed development. I oppose it. I think it should remain the same. I would like to see just normal single-family resident homes in that.
You see, now it's not, most of it's not zoned single-family
Yeah.
residential homes, so you're proposing a rezoning of a different caliber?
That's right.
All right. Thank you.
Ed Cybalski, 54884 Gemini Drive. My objection is the congestion already in the area. And basically, to me, it's not only a traffic problem, it becomes a safety problem. Only from the standpoint that the more people get on the road, the more impatient you get in congested areas. I've already been passed up twice on 25 Mile Road in the last few months on the turn lane. And the right lane into the gas station basically is being used as a passing lane. So the more congestion, the more issues we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Mr. Wynn?
Yeah. So to me, I think the compelling basis for a change in zoning is you have these 2/3 of the site has this kind of mixed split zoning pattern, which I think does hinder its development. I do believe the master plan, and if you look at this broadly, the master plan does support this type of development there. The drain crossing will clearly impact their yield. So you can ask for whatever density you want, but the site characteristics and the setbacks all have a way of depressing that yield. Even if the drain didn't cross the site, they'd be hard-pressed to reach the R12. So I do believe if you look at that broad development pattern along 25 Mile Road, I believe this is consistent with that. And again, the consolidation of the zoning pattern, I think, is pretty compelling, and we've recommended approval.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the petitioner come up, but before I ask, Mr. Wynn, your thoughts on, traffic impact and congestion, the way it's zoned now versus the proposed zoning?
Well, I don't think it matters that much because you have
off.
2/3 of this. The idea that could we zone this single family, yeah, you could initiate that, but it's zoned this way already. And I think the fact that you have the location and you have frontage on both roads offers you the opportunity to have access to both roads. So it kind of takes that traffic pattern and disperses it differently, which I think is an advantage. Clearly, they're going to have to come in with a site plan. They'll have passing lanes and acceleration, deceleration tapers. Yeah, it's going to add more traffic, but if they came in and developed it now, it would add more traffic. So it's a question of, can we get a better product and a better development out of this by squaring these boundaries off and making it work a little better? And I think the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. Can Commissioner Moore have the shed with the Mr. Magoo on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just wanted to address the members of the public. I totally respect their concerns and their comments. I do believe that, given the zoning that is already in place, what we're asking for will improve the situation. I mean, 01 is no bargain. You never know what you're going to get in terms of commercial. In fact, one of the senior housing groups we were talking to were concerned because there's a liquor store across the street, and they don't like to affiliate anywhere near liquor stores. And I said, does that mean a CVS? Because they sell liquor. I mean, even though I think they just stopped maybe. But so there's a mixed bag when you're talking about the zoning. I do believe that there'll be less traffic congestion with this type of plan. Mr. Nguyen makes a very sound point when he talks about the impediments to the ability to get the density on the site because of the drain and the wetlands, and also because of the setback requirements. So I'm confident that we'll be able to do a good job, but also confident that the R12 consolidation is necessary for that to happen. So I respect the lead request that you granted. Thank you. Or recommended granting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, our decision this evening on the proposed use recommendation must be based on the following: the practicality of this rezoning request and the effect on the surrounding area, the owner's right to use his land, do current growth and development patterns warrant this rezoning, and is the proposed rezoning in accordance with the master plan. At this time, we may recommend approval, disapproval, or table to evaluate the information further. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to recommend approval to the Township Board for rezoning petition 08-16 to rezone 3 parcels at the northwest corner of Mound Road and 25 Mile Road from O1 Professional Office and R1B 1 Family Residential to R12 Multiple Family Low Rise for the following reasons. The proposed change would consolidate the zoning within a single category, which is necessary for the development of this site. The proposed zoning is largely consistent with the existing zoning pattern at the intersection of 25 and Mound. The change would not adversely impact any abutting development, and the proposed development of this site is consistent with the recommendations contained in the master plan.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, moved by DeSico, support by Dalu. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner DeSico?
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
No.
Commissioner Bernardi?
No.
Commissioner Moore?
No.
Commissioner Turner?
No.
Commissioner Pone?
No.
Chair votes yes. Put that motion failed. Does anyone wish to make another motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
1 second. I move to recommend denial to the Township Board of Rezoning Petition Number 8-16 to rezone 3 parcels at the northwest corner of Mound Road and 25 Mile Road from O1 Professional Office and R1B 1 Family Residential to R12 Multiple Family Low Rise for the following reasons. The applicant has not demonstrated that the property cannot be developed as currently zoned. Introduction of additional multiple apartments of this scale has the potential of creating nuisances for surrounding property owners, and additional multiple development of this scale will create major traffic congestion at the corner and for homeowners living in the area.
Okay, motion by Turner, support by Moore. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Pone?
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu?
No.
Commissioner DeSico?
No.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi?
Yes.
And the chair votes no. So a recommendation to disapprove this request will be forwarded on to the board.
Sorry to hear that. What's my next alternate?
They want you contact
It'll be presented to the board for their consideration at an upcoming meeting. You have to call me tomorrow to double check the schedule.
Okay, next item is site plan number 16-26, special land use number 8.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of the following special land use. Applicant Catherine T. Lochner, Happy Tales Learning Center for Dogs, 49722 Tottenham Lane, Macomb, Michigan, 48044. Proposed use, dog training center, location 51209 Mound Road, north of 23 Mile Road, west side of Mound Road. Site plan number 16-26, SLU-8. Sidwell number 23-07-17-478-017. Legal description is as follows. Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 8th, 2016, at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, 586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the special land use application. The application for special land use and the site plan may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published July 24th, 2016 in the source. There were 33 property owners, and 2 applicants were notified by first-class mail on July 22nd, 2016.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. And could you explain the uses under the present zoning and if the special land use request is appropriate?
The current zoning is C1, which is our local retail business district. This is actually a permitted use. However, under the ordinance, a maximum square footage can be 1,600 feet, so any request over that is required to get a special land use from the commission.
Great, thank you. Secretary Moore, did we receive any correspondence on this?
No,
request?
we did not, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, the format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or representative will give a presentation stating the reasons for the request. Commissioners may then ask questions of the petitioner. The floor will be then open to the public for comments or questions, and then allow the petitioner to make concluding remarks.
Do I have to state my name and my address?
Name and your address,
Okay,
please.
Kate Lochner, and my address is 49722 Tottenham Lane, Macomb, Michigan, 48044. I'm looking to, I've been looking for a building to move into. I'm currently in a multi-tenant building in Macomb doing dog training. There are 6 dog trainers in my company, and we currently have 1 training room to share between 6 trainers. And so for the past 14 months, we've been looking to move into a larger building that would allow us to have multiple training rooms to work with people. And this building came about, and it was a former school, and so it's already got classrooms broken out into it, and they're perfect for our usage now. The building literally is perfect just the way it is right now to use it for our use. And so we are private lesson dog trainers, so we don't do class training. We do all one-on-one. So if one of you had a dog in your family and you needed help training, you would come to us and consult with us, and then we would do one of 2 things. We would do one-on-one private lessons where you would come in and work with a trainer individually in a room. And then we also do resident dog training, which is basically if you had a certain number of goals that you wanted to accomplish, but you wanted us to do the upfront work, we would keep the dog at our training center, and we would do accomplish all of the goals for the owner, and then do private lessons with the family to teach them how to keep their dog trained that way and how the owners could do it. So we would like to move into that building to do that usage.
Okay. What are the hours of operation?
Currently, our trainers take customers between the hours of 9 a.m. and up until 7 p.m., which means we're out by 8 p.m.
Sunday through Saturday?
Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday. Okay. Any questions from anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dowling?
to Mr. Nguyen, is special land use for this specific piece, if it was in light manufacturing, would that require special land use?
No, it would not. And the reason, as Mr. Kirk said, if she were coming into a multi-tenant building and she was going to occupy up to 1,600 square feet, it would be fine. But this is Zone C1, which is local commercial. And this is the one district where there's limitations on size of individual businesses, and that was intended to keep them into scale with the neighborhood. So the ordinance says if you go a little bit beyond that, I can approve it administratively. If you go way beyond it, like this proposal does, we wanted to have a public hearing so we have proper notification and have an opportunity for residents to comment as well. But in other districts, it would be allowed as a matter of right, Mr. Dallow. This is the only commercial district where we wouldn't do that.
One more question for you, Mr. Nguyen.
Sure.
If she would sell any dog food or any items belonging to food, then she doesn't have to be here either.
No, she would because of the size. Because of, let's say she wanted to do dog sell products or do boarding or grooming, that would all come to us as well. But this is pretty unique, and it's a specialty. It's one use. And we talked at the counter multiple times, and the concern I had, and I think maybe you need to address it, is outdoor activities, because that to me is a big concern, and I think we need to hear what that plan is.
Thank you for bringing that up. So there are, I believe, 4 fenced areas, and the question was how we would use those outdoor areas. And I think the easiest way to explain it is that we don't believe in doggy daycare. There will not be dogs outside playing with each other and romping with each other and off leash, and there will never ever be a dog unsupervised outside. So the outdoor usages, dogs will be taken from the building to go outside to go to the bathroom if they need to. Otherwise, they will be one-on-one. So a dog would be with a trainer at all times. So if we wanted to do, people walk their dogs outside and take their dogs outside. So we would like to make sure that their obedience also is perfected outside. So it would be one dog and one trainer outside. There won't be, you had asked about outdoor pens. No dog would have access to the outside without being on a leash with a trainer or a kennel employee. And multiple dogs would not be out there at the same time without multiple trainers or hands-on people.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Turner?
Ms. Lochner, you are going to remove all that playground equipment that's there?
We would like to, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. You can sit down for now.
Okay.
This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this special land use request. All remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. We are a recommending body, and the Township Board will evaluate our recommendation, which is the legislative body. The Township Board will make the final decision on the special land use request. At this time, anyone from the audience is welcome to ask any questions or make a comment on what's being proposed. I just need your name and address, sir.
My name is Jeff Stevens. My address is 6745 Yarborough, but I'm representing 5631 Althea, which is the road adjacent to coming off of Mound. I own that house. My son and my granddaughter live there. Our concerns are, first, the value of the homes in the neighborhood. This is not, I don't think, a positive thing for the neighborhood. From a safety point of view, dogs are going there to be trained, so if someone gets off a leash before they get into the building, before they get trained, they're only a few hundred feet away from my granddaughter, across the street, younger children at the beginning of Althea. There's got to be other locations that are less centrally located to the neighborhoods than this one, and that's my primary concern.
Okay, thank you. Do you wish to comment, sir?
I'm running it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Back to the board. Mr. Nguyen, your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do think this site, this building and site is very well adapted to this use, and there's a couple reasons for that. This is one of those buildings that I think is difficult to reuse. You just don't divide this up into commercial space. It doesn't lend itself to a professional office. So, you leave that building vacant for an extended period of time, You can see what that looks like on Van Dyke, where you have all those vacancies. It tends to leave blighted uses, and which those factors can bring down property values. The other factor that I think is relevant to this is this parcel kind of has a little tail on it. All due respect to it's not a dog, but there's a little tail in the back that's zoned single family. And it's very heavily wooded, and it does have a way of offering a natural buffer. You know, part of our recommendation, I think you'd want to, maybe if you're going to look at our proposed motion, no activities on the R1B parcel. We wouldn't want them using that. It's a natural sort of way of buffering that. So we do think this is a good adapted sort of reuse for this building, very specialized, that we can control with some conditions to minimize the concerns that the residents would have. So we've offered a very strong recommendation in support of this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there, petitioner, any concluding remarks?
I would I completely appreciate your concerns, and I mean, I can't, I suppose, promise that a dog would never get off, but we have been in operation for 4.5 years, and we've never once lost a dog or had a loose dog or a customer. We take safety very seriously, even for our own employees. If somebody was bringing a dog in, that the dogs have to be on leash. We do recommend that they have 2 leashes, or 2 collars attached if they're worried about their dog. We do not recommend that people bring them in on harnesses, because harnesses, dogs slip out of very easily. And to your other comment about there's got to be so many other places that we can look for, believe me when I tell you we spent 14 months looking for places, and I can't tell you how many times we were denied for rent because people didn't want dogs in their building if they were the owner of the building. And we, you know, price-wise, there was buildings that we just literally couldn't afford, and so we kept coming upon hurdle upon hurdle upon hurdle. So when I say this literally is my only option, I legitimately mean this is right now the only option I have, and my lease is up in February, and I'm praying that I can get into this building because I don't have any other options. So it's, you know, we've outgrown our place right now, and we do need to get into another location. So that's why we're here at this place, and it's a perfect building too. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Ms. Lochner, what is the size of your current building?
Well, our current space is 3,800 square feet.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Ms. Lochner. So have you had any complaints thus far in your, since you've been operating your business for 4 years?
No, we have never had a complaint.
And then,
not that's been brought to my attention.
Right. Have you, so I take it, from my understanding, the dogs will not be spending the night. This is strictly.
Some dogs will be, when they do the resident training, which is where they bring their dogs to us, they will be spending, those dogs would be spending the night.
And then those dogs would be indoors?
Indoors, yes. Indoor kennels.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Maybe to Mr. Nguyen, is the tail section of the property that you talked about, does the fence, is it fenced in until that?
That portion is not fenced, I don't believe. The fencing only wraps around the developed portion of the site, around the building and the play area. That open area is completely unfenced.
But is there a fenced border between that section and the property?
Yes, there's the fence, the site where the portion of the site where you have the building and the play area around it is completely enclosed in a fence, with the exception of the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have one.
Yeah, Mr. Bernardi.
The parking lot that, you know, where I see the playscape, that will probably be removed, that's there, you'll have some training going on back there?
Where the playscapes are? Theoretically, yes.
So there's a parking lot at Butts 2 that goes to the development next to you, it looks like?
Mr. Chairman, there is a parking lot that abuts to the office building, and there's a connection between those parking lots.
Yes.
I mean, my thought is that you might want to put some type of screening when you have cars coming and going, you know, with their car alarms, if you have dogs back there being trained, could, you know, spook them in a sense. Just for your thing, you know, I like the project. I just thought, you know, with the parking lots, cars pulling in and out, depending, you know, if they got a loud muffler, and you have animals that, you know. But I like the project.
If it would be approved, I mean, I think ultimately we would like to put either tree barriers along some of those fence lines, or if you guys required or wanted me to put a privacy fence, we by all means would love to do that too.
Any other
I think
questions?
it's more of a matter of preference for the applicant. They're not required to screen anything here, but if, I think it's a relevant comment, but I don't think it needs to be made a condition.
Fair enough. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, our recommendation this evening must be based on the following standards: compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistent with and promote the intent and purpose of the special land use, compatibility with the natural environment, consistent with the capacities of public services and facilities affected by the proposed use, protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and the adequacy of public access to the site. We may recommend approval, disapprove the request, or table it to evaluate it further. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
I move to recommend approval to the Township Board of Special Land Use Application number 16-26 SLU-8 to permit the establishment of dog training business at 51209 Mound Road based on the following findings. Number one, adequate access is available to the site from Mound Road. Number two, the training activities will be completely enclosed in the building. Number three, the proposed use will facilitate the occupancy of a vacant retail building along Mound Road. Number four, this particular building is well suited to this use based on the information provided by the applicant. Number five, there are no adjoining residential neighbors that would be adversely impacted by this business. Number six, an established wood area is located at the western portion of the site that shall be maintained as a natural buffer between this property and the single-family neighborhood to the west. Number seven, the hours of operation shall be from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Support. Mr. Chairman, could I?
Sure.
Could I have one more suggestion? I would say maybe training activities will be closed in a building. Supervised training may be allowed within the fenced area. Because I think that's what they described, as supervised training only. That means no random dogs.
Okay with the motion maker?
Yes.
Okay with the supporter?
I agree.
All right, any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Pone?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu?
Yes.
Commissioner DeSico?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Good luck. Mr. Nguyen, you got anything for us?
Just the normal administrative approval summary. We only had 12 signing applications last month, which is probably our lowest of the year so far. One temporary use request. Our next meeting would normally have been 2 weeks from tonight, on August 22nd, but we don't have anything for that agenda, so that meeting will be canceled.
Good enough.
Ready, Mr. Chairman?
Lay it on me.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.